You want to play a tough game? Give me a prediction on where the light heavyweight class goes in 2021. I mean, that division is a mess. That division has been a mess for a period of time. And that used to be a perennial division for multiple reasons. One, you just had the stars that came from it. Tito Ortiz and the Chuck Liddell and the Frank Shamrock. And it was one of these deals where that was the weight class that was looked at. Now, the other side of the coin, there was only two weight classes in the sport. You had light heavyweight, you had heavyweight for years before they ever came in with the middleweight, started working their ways down, brought the women into it. I mean, just to take you down memory lane, there's a reason that it was a perennial weight class, right? It was one of two, but there was also, I mean, that was a real featured class. Heavyweights are always the featured class in combat. Well, there was a period of time where it was light heavyweight, at least within this sport, and in large part for the names that I just mentioned. But I bring that to you because when Jon Jones took over early on, it was very exciting. I mean, there was all sorts of parity. You're looking for the guy that can beat him, and there was all these veterans out there that you were familiar with. I mean, I even remember talk at one point of bringing Don Fry back, who had been over in Pride, get Don Fry in there with Jon Jones. Now, I realize in hindsight there wouldn't have been a lot to see, but there was a real parity for a while. When Jon cleaned things out and that started to go away, it just got a little bit slimmer pickings. I mean, to the point that Jon Jones left the division. He left the division because he said, I can't make the kind of money I want here. Saying I can't make the kind of money I want when you get to participate in the pay-per-view buys, I mean, people aren't buying your fight. So people don't want to watch the division. They don't want to watch Jon fight. All of a sudden, he's got to go up to heavyweight. Now, I only say that because you insert Adesanya. Adesanya does not seem like a guy that wants to be champ or even cares about it. He seems like a guy that wants to beat up certain people. And if there's a belt or an interim belt or a main event along the way, then that's a byproduct. I mean, this is what he seems. He's an African Kiwi kickboxer who calls out a Cuban Olympic wrestler in Yoel Romero. Like, that fight didn't make a lot of sense, but Adesanya didn't like Yoel Romero. I mean, if you'll remember how that fight was made, that's a hard night out for anybody. Adesanya didn't care about putting it on the line. He didn't care about any of that. He wanted to go into a cage and punch Yoel Romero for up to 25 minutes. Oh, I mean, you have to understand who you're dealing with here. So Adesanya versus Blachowicz has got to be a vehicle to get him to something else. Adesanya's got no heat with Blachowicz. Blachowicz has no heat with anybody. So why are we here and what are we doing? Well, it would seem as though you don't have to put on your Colombo rain jacket to figure out this is about getting Adesanya and Jon Jones together. And Jon Jones, by his own statement, and I think we can take him at his word, says, I want the biggest, highest paying fight. That's the biggest fight the industry could make, at least right now. And it seems as though the pieces of the puzzle are getting put in place to do just that. It seems as though we're going to leave Jon on the bench where he wants to be anyway. We're going to put Adesanya to work against Blachowicz, and should he grab the championship, you bring Jon back down. But now Jon has come out and said, under no scenario will I go back down. I am now a heavyweight. So possibly Jon has found a new motivation. Possibly it's not about the money. That's the last thing he told us, but he's also been in a sport where people haven't cared about his career. Possibly, I'm guessing right now, possibly he's got such a positive response to the new journey that he's on, that he's going, okay, that's the motivation. There's a different kind of equity. There's a different kind of monetizable value aside from dollars that you can get within sport, which is just an intrinsic value, which is an attention, which is a fame, which is a drug that you can't get anywhere else. And possibly that's now got Jon, the competitor came back in him, and that's why he wants to go after heavyweight. I do not subscribe to the Jon Jones is scared of anybody. I just don't. I think that's silly. I think that would be unfair to follow his career and come to that conclusion. It's also very tough to take Jon for what he said, which is, I want to make money, understanding he's going to get a level of participation on the sales and the buys that a fight does. It's Adesanya. It's nobody else. There's not a close second. As a matter of fact, at heavyweight, you would be hedging at best because you have nothing to juxtapose the Adesanya fight with. We do not know if Jon is going to be in there with Stipe. We don't know if Jon's going to be there with Francis. And by the way, this whole talk that Jon draws right into the winner, that can go out the window so damn fast, depending on what happens in Stipe Francis. I mean, I've seen some weird fights before. Randy Couture versus Vitor Belfort. Just by example. Vitor throws a punch that doesn't land. It misses. A piece of stitching from the glove sticks out, cuts Randy Couture's eye. They have to stop the fight. I mean, there's some of these matches that you just have to redo. You have no choice. You have to redo it. Conor McGregor goes and fights Nate Diaz. He gets upset, demands, I will do absolutely nothing else except him. Again, same weight class, same arena, same round, same placement on the card. Okay, we have to put everything on hold. We have to go redo this match. So I only bring that to you because this isn't even a matter of guessing or looking at any kind of analytics for what would be a bigger fight, Jones versus Adesanya or Jones versus... There is no Jones. It's a blank slate. We don't even know what we're talking about. And even if we feel that we've done a great job of narrowing it down to two, we haven't. John Jones versus Daniel Cormier was the biggest rivalry in the sport. That was the fight everybody was trying to make. Daniel drops an upset to Stipe. You never hear of Daniel and Jones again. It's only Daniel versus Stipe trilogy fight, retirement fight, title fight. I mean, I only share that with you because things can change so fast. Right when you think you know something in this sport. Right when you think you know something, Khabib retires. Right when you think you got this division figured out, Triple C drops the mic and fade to black, roll the credits. I mean, it's one of these things. We don't know. You got to win the matches you can win when you can win them. You've got to make the matches you can make when you can make them. You start trying to play chess, you're going to end up stubbing your toe. It's just one of these things. And sometimes those bets do work out. But guys, we aren't betting on anything here. We aren't betting, is Adesanya versus Jones a bigger fight than Jones versus TBA? There is no opponent right now for John. I only bring that to you not to talk about John Jones. I digress down the John Jones road. I'm trying to talk to you about the light heavyweight division. What do you do there? The one who has the mandate of the masses is the most unlikely to get the nod, which is named Glover Teixeira. That's who all the fans want to see. By the way, if you look at wins and losses, it's very hard to deny Glover. The only thing he's got against him is he's had the opportunity before and he's older now. And history says if you couldn't do it when you were younger, you can't do it on north of 40. Glover is here to maybe prove that wrong. I'm in for the storyline. I'm just sharing with you. Where do we go from here? It would look as though Raychik is in a very good spot, but Raychik is booked with Thiago Santos, who's coming off of 2 losses. How much rub do you think Raychik can get beating a guy who just got beat by 2 other guys? I mean, I only bring that to you. That division is very weird right now. Not to mention the immersion into that division, if I was to make a prediction for 2021, is going to be Paulo Costa. So if you put the belt around Adesanya's waist and Paulo Costa comes and becomes the number 1 contender, you now have 2 middleweights fighting at light heavyweight. And by the way, the middleweight champion in that scenario, Adesanya, only weighs 193 pounds. It's just one of these very peculiar things. And Adesanya is not, this is relevant to the story if you're trying to make your guess. Adesanya is not going to bulk up to light heavyweight. He's made that clear. He doesn't believe in that. He's not going to change his physiology. He walks around at 193 when he cuts to 185, which means he's going to walk around at 193 to go 205, which means he can make 185 anytime he wants, which means he's not looking to beat Jan to be champ, drop the 85 strap and move up to 205. It would seem as though Adesanya is going to continue doing what he's been doing, which is fighting guys he wants to fight because he wants to fight them, not because of what's on the line. He's a very rare breed. He's very Khabib-esque in this manner. He has his own code, and that is the code that he lives by. And if you want to get a match with him, you'd best figure out what that code is, or you're going to be standing on third base wearing a catcher's mitt.